like it or not, like a G70 back coming at you today with the pros and cons of the Genesis G70. So I feel like after owning the car for about 3 weeks now, I put just over 1,000 miles on it. Definitely want to go a little into depth into what I like about it, what I'm not a huge fan of, things like that I think everyone should know. And honestly, there's not a lot of cons with this car. Obviously, it's a large upgrade from the Malibu and all of that fun stuff, but you know, gotta be picky, I guess, and a video like this is perfect for that. So without further ado, everyone, here are 3 pros of the Genesis G70 Sport and 3 cons of the Genesis G70 Sport. So ladies and gentlemen, pro number 1 for the Genesis G70 has to be the driving and just the overall aesthetic of the car when you're actually operating it, which might be the most important part just because obviously it's a car, that's what it's made for. So basically for me, as far as the first 3 weeks of driving it has gone, it is definitely a super nice car to drive. It's a fun car to drive, it handles really well. Obviously I've done a few pulls for you guys in the past and it's fast, right? I mean, the Malibu, not super fast, right? And that's just, like I've said before, that's kind of the reality of having a Malibu is that, right? It's a daily driver. You're not driving it that much and all that. You know, to be fast, you're driving it more to get to work on time and to save mileage, save gas, save money, all that. Obviously, the Genesis is a little different, and that's good, right? That's what kind of sets it apart, makes it that sport and luxury car. And obviously, I've had a ton of experience handling, you know, a sport or luxury car before this, so it's been kind of a nice change. And honestly, like going around things like roundabouts and stuff like that has just been awesome. Obviously, you know, accelerations and stuff in the different modes, the sport modes, the comfort modes, that all comes together pretty well. And honestly, it's been just nice having that different setting and being able to go from, hey, maybe I just want to ride around town, not do anything crazy, to, okay, we need to get going. And once that light turns green, we're just going. So it's been fun. Again, probably the biggest pro for me in this car is just the fact that, you know, again, it handles like a sports car, it handles like a luxury car, and obviously it's a lot more energetic to drive and to be a part of that experience as someone who now owns this car. So like I said, that's got to be pro number 1 for me. See ya! And now for pro number 2 of the Genesis G70. For me personally, coming from an Malibu, coming from an ordinary everyday sedan, it's got to be the styling of this car. The exterior of this car looks like a Mercedes-Benz, it looks like an Audi, it looks like a car that costs 3 times the amount of money that this does. And for me, that's one of the biggest pros that I've seen so far. Now for me, it all comes down to the styling of the car. There's just a lot of nice aggressive lines, as you'll kind of see. Nice lines that go all the way down the car, all the way down both sides, going down both the doors, going up through the front fender and through the back fender as well. And they kind of make a nice curve for the car, which looks really good. And personally for me, just gives it that aggressive, sporty, luxury look all in one that, you know, when I saw this car for the first time, I was like, this is mine, right? Like, I like this car is super cool and all that. So definitely a huge plus for sure. Now you also see, and I did not point this out in the last video, that this Genesis also has these nice vents here. Now they actually don't act as anything. They have fake air inputs to give off the impression that they're cooling off the tire and pushing air through that. But again, they don't actually work in that fashion, although I think for looks wise, they do give it a pretty aggressive look, and overall I am pleased with that. And again, just kind of adds that look. Now you're also going to see that the car is pretty wide on the sides and the fenders actually go over the tires, especially in the back, which is kind of cool for sure, and something that, you know, the Malibu obviously didn't have. It was pretty flat with the tires and right in line, whereas this one kind of goes over. And again, something that makes it aggressive, makes it look like it almost has a wide body kit on it, which I like again. And when you see that compared with the rims that come on this thing, it looks like a pretty good looking sports car. Now, the third pro of my Genesis G70 so far that I've noticed, and again, kind of one like driving, you notice right off the bat compared to the old car, the Malibu, the interior. Now, the interior, it looks amazing. It's really nice. All the buttons, I kind of went over it a lot last video, so make sure you check that out if you haven't so far, and I did a full run through the car. But overall, the inside of this car is just so nice. All the buttons in here are nice silver, right? We kind of went over that a lot. Everything is really easy to find, right? Like the dials are good, the dual climate control is super easy to use, and it's easy to kind of make it your own as well. The steering wheel over here has nice kind of metal parts for the volume, switching tracks, phone calls, cruise control, things like that. The paddle shifters as well are finished in that nice material, the same as all the other buttons in here, which is super good too. And overall, the aesthetic in here, right? So obviously you want a car that has a nice aesthetic, you know, everything looks kind of good. It looks in the right place, and honestly, I feel that in this car, right? All the buttons look like they're in the right place. The screen fits in really nice, although it's not big. Again, like I said, you don't need a big screen in a car like this. Everything looks like it needs to be where it is, and vice versa, right? It is where it is for a reason, and it looks in the right spot. The drive mode selector's in a good spot. The parking brake is easy to access. The console is in a good spot. The shifter's nice and sleek. Again, everything in here kind of works together very well. And then on top of that, you have the red stitch seats, you have the bucket seats that adjust you, extend for you, all that different kind of stuff. So like I said, for a pro for this car, it has to be noted that the interior overall is just super nice, and in general just takes this car to a whole nother level, when realistically you can get it for cheaper than most any other sport luxury car that is even close to this level. Now, we've gone over the 3 pros of the Genesis G70. Like I said, the things I've noticed right away that I love about the car and that are definitely its strengths in that field. However, as with pros, as with anything, there has to be cons. And just some small things that I've noticed in those first 3 weeks that I'm not a huge fan of so far. Hopefully I'll get used to them and all that, but here are the 3 biggest cons I've seen so far in the Genesis G70 Sport. That's a tight squeeze. And that's gonna be my con number 1 with the Genesis G70, is that the back seats are just not super spacious. And obviously that's gonna happen when you have a luxury and sport car. You're getting away from that kind of, you know, complete practicality to a little impracticality to make room for performance, weight reduction, everything like that. Now, like I mentioned last video, you know, if you're over 6 feet tall, this roof is probably gonna catch you on the way out. I know for me, it's happened a few times already when I've been getting in and out of this thing so far. So, and again, I'm 5'10", so not huge, not tall. But anyway, something that, you know, I think it happens a lot, and it would happen a lot potentially if you're over that 6 foot tall platform, just because it is low. The seats kind of sink down with you. The seats are not entirely comfortable back here as well. And there's also not really room to fit a third person, because as you can see, the floor goes down on the 2 passenger spots, but then in the middle, it actually raises up where those air vents are. So it is pretty tough to get a third person in the middle if you really wanted to, because obviously their feet are going to be in their stomach pretty much, and they're going to have no room to sit. That might be a circumstance where you're putting 1 foot on either side of the hump in the middle, but regardless, again, you mostly, for most circumstances, in most cases, going to be a 4-person passenger vehicle, just because there isn't really enough room for that 5th spot. Again, you can make it happen if need be, but it would be extremely tough. Otherwise, aside from the leg room and things like that in here, the back seat is actually a pretty good spot to be in. Again, there's heated seats, there's seat warmers, still has the same red stitching back here as it does in the front, and additionally you have your vents as well and seat back pockets. So again, it is pretty nice back here, but again, the cons are going to be pretty nitpicky, because I've only had this car for a few weeks, and honestly, I love everything about it so far for the most part. But again, that first con being not a lot of leg room in that back seat. Now, the second con I have for the Genesis G70 Sport is going to be the electronics, reactiveness, and the CarPlay situation in the car, which, as someone who listens to music all the time with my subwoofer and things like that, I noticed right off the bat. So one thing that I did find in the Genesis that I did not know coming into it is that, sadly and very interestingly, especially for a 2021 model year, it does not have wireless CarPlay, which for me, I'm used to. The Malibu that I had did not have wireless CarPlay, so I was fine with it. Like, I'm used to having a cord, all that. But for a 2021 to not have wireless CarPlay, it was very odd to me, and I found that kind of hard to believe. But here we are, we're at that point, and honestly, I don't really notice it too much. I'm already used to having that cord out and stuff, so it's not a big deal for me. But again, just something that's kind of small that I noticed right off the bat. And, you know, if you're someone that needs wireless CarPlay, then obviously the car is probably not for you. If you're in that position where you need it and you have to have it, but for me, I don't really care. I'm used to it. Again, it's probably something that was left out because I wanted to focus more on the, you know, driving aspect of the car, and for the person who's driving it to be fully immersed in that, rather than worrying about what's on the screen and things like that. Now, another thing that kind of goes along with wireless CarPlay is that the electronic system, the overall Genesis system, is not super great in my opinion. I was hoping for a 2021 to be pretty proactive to the touch and very reactive when I did press the screen and switch tabs and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, so far it has not been, which has been a little disappointing for sure. But again, kind of used to that with the Malibu and all that. It definitely does kind of suck though sometimes when you want to turn the volume down or turn the volume up, and it doesn't just work like that. With the snap of a finger, you have to kind of wait a half second or two, which again is okay in the grand scheme of things, but just kind of that nitpicky aspect that I'm like, man, I wish that was better. And I wish that, you know, maybe it was a little more reactive to my touch and all that. But again, two pretty minor things on the interior that I don't love that, in my opinion, I do see as cons. However, you know, wireless CarPlay, not a huge deal for me personally, but I know other people have their different opinions and things like that. So drop a comment below if you are a wireless CarPlay person or a wired CarPlay person. Personally, obviously, I'm a wired CarPlay person, was in the Malibu for almost 6 years, and am now in the first month that I've had this. So I'm used to it and all that, but that is my con number 2 of the Genesis G70. Now, con number 3, the Genesis G70 that I have noticed, without a doubt, better than anything so far in the car. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the car so far, all that. One thing I have noticed for sure is that the miles per gallon and the gas guzzling ability of this car are extremely different than that of the Malibu. And it all starts right up here. So for starters, in the Malibu, in the city, I was averaging about 30 miles per gallon. Highway, somewhere in the 35 to 40 mile per gallon range, which is really good, obviously. And that's what the Malibu was made for, was things like that, and for you know, road trips, fuel economy, things like that. Now with the Genesis so far in the city, I'm averaging about 20 to 21 miles per gallon. Usually, right? I mean, that's not always the case, but 95% of the time so far it's been in that range, which is obviously, you know, almost 10 miles per gallon less than that of the Malibu. So obviously the tanks aren't lasting as long and things like that, which is making a big impact on my wallet and things of that nature. Another thing I have noticed too is that every time I turn the car on and off, it seems to magically lose a few miles to the full tank, which is interesting for sure, and obviously I don't like that. So let's say I got in the car right now and it said I was at 295 miles to an empty tank. Got out of the car, turned it off, came back to it an hour later, probably would go down to about 292 or 290, right? So I feel like every time I get in and out of the car, it stops, whatever, I'm losing about 2 to 5 miles to that full tank, which sucks. And obviously that's something that I wasn't really prepared for either, but probably just something with the malfunctioning and the electronic system as well. Now another thing too is that the Genesis takes a different kind of gas. In the Malibu, I was filling it up with 87 unleaded, obviously the cheapest gas you can buy pretty much. However, with the Genesis, it is 91 premium. We don't go short there, fellas. We cannot be doing that. So I've been filling it up with 91, which is anywhere between 75 cents to $1 more than 87 unleaded, you know, on average. So that's obviously making a huge dent in my bank account as well. For a full tank in the Malibu, I was paying about $30 to $32, depending on the gas station I was at and things like that. In this thing, I'm paying about $45 to $48 per full tank, and it's about the same tank size. This one might be a gallon or two bigger, but overall it's about the same size. So that's obviously a con for me because I'm just having to spend more money on gas and having to fill it up more often, which I'm not used to. In the Malibu, I could probably go about 10 days without filling up, whereas in this thing, it's been about 5 or 6 days. So basically cutting it in half. Now a full tank in this thing is getting me about 330 miles to full, whereas in the Malibu, I was at about 375. So again, a big change there, but overall not a huge con. So as you can see right now, we're at 60 miles of range and we have about an eighth of a tank left, so not too bad, averaging about 22.4 miles per gallon, which again isn't terrible, but obviously not that of the Malibu. And since we are at 60 miles of range and an eighth of a tank left, it's time to get gas, so you get to go see me blow my bank account on another tank of gas. Just like that, ladies and gentlemen, $44 later, not even a full tank. But yeah, everyone, so there you have it. You have the 3 pros on this side, which are gonna be the interior design, which is incredible, the exterior design, which is also super good and looks great, and finally, the driving capability of the car and how different it is from the Malibu. And on this side, you're gonna have your 3 cons, which, as I said, are the CarPlay and the electronic system, which aren't great, could be a little more reactive. The back seat, which doesn't have as much practicality as a normal sedan, but still pretty good, not bad for sure. And finally, the miles per gallon and the fuel economy, which obviously, again, aren't as great as the Malibu, but oh well. So everyone, it is with that I leave you with the beautiful sight of the G70 behind me. Thank you for tuning in as always. Thank you for following along. If you liked the video, please drop a like, please subscribe, please comment, do all that fun stuff. I will see you guys in the next video where we are going to take a look at what it takes to own this car and what the kind of reality is. I mean, it's not as cheap as the Malibu was, so obviously there's some changes there. But like I said, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for watching the pros and cons of the Genesis G70 Sport. Let me know below if I missed anything or if you have different ones, if you own the car as well. Other than that, we'll see you in the next one. And like a G70, we out of here.